Welcome back to the dopest show you won't get sick of. I'm Spencer. This is Sasha. I spent most of my 20s in federal prison, but I've been off heroin since April 9th, 2010. Got a lot of stories about the stupid stuff I did to get put in prison, the crazy stuff that happened while I was in prison. God forbid you end up in prison. You want to make some of the same mistakes I made. So, Lord have mercy. This was a vicious little fella. This guy turned at 20 people. But it's not what you think. Well, I mean, it is what you think, but it's not the type of what you think. Because you get this image of big old Bubba. Big old Bubba going to go after that butt. Nah, this is a little 5 foot tall fella. 240 pounds. Oh, he must have been jacked at 240. Nah, he's a butterball. Matter of fact, that's what we're going to call him. We're going to call him Butterball. Butterball, man, you hear every week, every other week, at night, about every other month, you hear about somebody else. Somebody else that was one of the good white guys, one of the part of this group, part of that group that was messing with punks behind the scenes. Now, God bless you if you have lifestyle like that. Ain't no judgment, nothing of that sort. But this was a little deviant, okay? Yeah, there's a level of respect, you know. Even if you did live that type of lifestyle, this little fella, nah. eBay is about 5 foot tall, 240 pounds. I'm gonna call him. I call him Butterball, but eBay. He had the biggest eBay scandal like in the history of the country. Okay, he ended up getting a decent amount of time, even though it's a white collar crime. He did his time in a prison camp, which is cushy. You don't even have fences. I mean, it's nice. At the low, they drove golf carts around the perimeter of the low and the medium. The campers did. It's not even like prison. They got caught with lobster that had been snuck in. They met somebody in the woods. They meet girls out there in the woods at the camp. Well, while he was in the halfway house, had just gotten out for his federal charges, he did another eBay scandal. This time they sent him to a medium. And he used to talk about it, because see, in the drug program, you got to talk. You got to be in these groups and stuff. And he said something about he was assaulted, like he got, like somebody, you know, I like you, I want you type of stuff. And I didn't believe it, you know what I mean? I wasn't sure because he said a lot of stuff, you know, and they call him on a lot. But I looked it up since I've been out, and apparently he wasn't lying, because there's actual documents and stuff whenever I typed his name in. He's actually passed away. I don't know if it was a overdose or if he died from obesity or what it was, but he actually got in a prison. I believe, I'm not going to say too many details about it, but it said that he'd talked to counselors, talked to staff, told them numerous times. They didn't do anything about it. So it sounds like he's trying to sue the BOP because of what happened to him, which, you know, everybody has a right, especially, he isn't a chomo, you know what I mean? He's a little deviant, but he wasn't in there for no, you know, like bad stuff like that. Has the right not to have that happen to him. So, you know, and it sounds like they failed. But anyway, when I first got in the drug program, how this thing operates is absolutely insane. It is dumb. Okay, you have to tell on 3 people a month. They don't call it telling. They call it holding accountable. And I guess because the criminal code, that was an accountability. Holding on to the criminal code if you didn't want to tell on somebody. So what I did was there are 4 inmates that ran the program who'd already graduated called senior peers. I paid 3 out of 4 of them off. The one I got told don't even try because I'd end up getting in trouble if I try to pay him off. The main one, I just gave him my Wellbutrin. I got Wellbutrin at Pill Line. Apparently people abuse that. And I gave it to him, so that got me by. But, so you go, how it works is starts at 7:40 a.m. The program does. You have to sit in these chairs. They line up chairs, 140 people. They have big old speakers, a podium, microphone, and basically they've got music, stuff that goes on. You might get an assignment like you have to do news. Get up there, you say, "Good morning, community." Everybody says good morning and then your last name, and then you say it. You have to do it by that format. If you don't follow that format, then you get in trouble with these menial punishments that are stupid. In zero way is that going to help you stay off of heroin for the rest of your life. It was designed for people that grew up with behavioral issues and stuff like that. I didn't have that. I had addiction issues. That was my main thing. I was always respectful, did well in school, just had addiction issues. So, for instance, one of the punishments was standing on the compound. So Every 10 minutes on the hour, they open up the compound for you to go to and from the recreation yard, to medical, to education, wherever you're going to go. During that time, if you're in the drug program and you stop, your feet quit moving, and you stop to talk to somebody, one of the punishments is standing on the compound. So they'll hold you accountable for standing on the compound, because if you were on the street, instead of getting where you were going and you stopped to talk to the homeboys on the corner, you'll be back out there selling rock. Well, some people don't have homeboys on the corner. A lot of people in there came from the backwoods and stuff, and even though I did live in the city, the city's got about 300,000 people between Roanoke, Salem, Benton. It's all house dealers. We didn't have people, standing on the block and stuff like that. So, I mean, stuff didn't really apply to my situation, nor did it many others. So it's dumb. One of the things was taking a shortcut to laundry, because how they designed how you just had to walk from place to place was foolish. So anyway, when I first got in this program, there's a part where they say, does anybody want to hold anybody accountable? Usually 2 or 3 people go up. If at least 2 people don't go up, the people who are called DTSs, drug treatment specialists, which are just somebody who got a year certificate at community college, they know little to nothing about addiction, will get up and they'll be like, well, y'all better quit holding on the criminal code. If we don't have people held accountable, y'all ain't going to get TVs the rest of the evening. Do stuff like that. It was stupid. So sometimes people make an agreement. Like, I make an agreement with you. Hey, today I'm going to hold you accountable for staying on the compound. Tomorrow you hold me accountable for taking the shortcut to laundry. And see, what you do is you go up there and you hold the person accountable. Then they call you up there. And it's like a little mock trial. So they ask you, you'll say, good morning, community. Good morning, Mr. Mumpower. And they ask you, what's your clarity on standing on the compound? My clarity is I was not standing on the compound. Then they call for witnesses. If anybody in there, they call for witnesses. If somebody raises their hand and they say, I saw him, he wasn't standing on the compound, they dismiss it. It's like a little mini court case, and it all depends on the witnesses. So he got picked on a lot, being that he's a little gay fella. And there were other people in there that were trans and stuff like that. Nobody bothered them because they stayed quiet and they kept to themselves. But he could not take getting picked on. So in retaliation, he would hold 20 to 30 people accountable. He got up there the first day and he had a little paper, and I was like, oh shoot, he's getting ready to hold about 5 or 10 people accountable. I can't say that. Whenever you're sitting in the group, you can't speak at all. If you whisper to somebody, you'll get held accountable. And he unrolled this thing. It looked like an Egyptian scroll. Had 30 people on it. It was like, whoop, 30 people he held accountable. Now, if you get held accountable, the punishments, what are the punishments? You have to sit in a timeout chair for an hour. You have to sit in a chair for an hour with the empty chair in front of you for an hour while everybody else is watching TV after the program's over. And that's so demeaning to an adult. How is that going to help me keep off heroin the rest of my life? It's not. It's stupid. And if you get 2 booths, that would be 2 hours of sitting in the timeout chair. The other one is writing an essay. That wouldn't bother me at all. I could write an essay. I can write 3 essays in 15 minutes. But you can't do that. You have to write 1 essay in an essay class, which is from 6 to 7. So if you have a visit that night, forget it. You ain't going. If you don't go to that essay class, you're going to get punishment stacked and stacked and stacked. Well, he held everybody accountable, but they all held him accountable too. They all jumped on him. He'd spend 3 hours a day sitting in the timeout chairs. So seeing as I had saw it like I'd seen it, I wouldn't have figured as much was going on behind the scenes with him. I figured, shoot, everybody on here in here doesn't like him, and he doesn't like nobody in here. That was not how it was. He was a cell down from me. My cellie was the former Serrano shot caller for Lone Pot Medium, and he was a store man. He sold sodas and stuff. So the little guy came over to the room to get sodas and stuff from him from time to time. I didn't speak. I just tried to stay invisible. I never said nothing mean. I never laughed. If somebody made fun of him, I got out of the way, because if somebody made fun of him and he saw you laughing, he's a spiteful little thing. He'd hold you accountable every bit. I just stayed away from him. Okay, what no good could come of it. So he came over, and my cellie to ask him time about that. So how many undercover? He says, "Oh, you wouldn't believe." And my cellie, when people are getting close on time, when they're getting ready to go home. Like, say, I've got 5 or 6 days left, and my commissary, you only get to go to commissary, the store, once a week, and you got to have money in your account. Well, say my day was Monday, it's Tuesday, and I don't go home till like Friday, for instance. I can't pay anybody back. So whatever I've got's what I got. I can't borrow stuff from the store man. How am I going to pay him back? People end up starving their last few days because nobody will loan them nothing and they don't have anything left, which was the case with him. I've seen people do some crazy stuff. I saw somebody eat a piece of a honey bun that fell on the floor that had a cockhair tumbleweed tied up in it. I saw somebody eat a stink bug, chew it up, and swallow it so then they could get a couple soups and a honey bun because they had a few days left but couldn't get commissary or borrow stuff from anybody. So what my celly did to him was he was like, okay, if you've seen Fast and the Furious, Hector, the Mexican guy who was bald with a big mustache, he looked just like that. Like, he literally, he actually claimed he knew that guy. Hard to tell. People say so much BS that it's hard to tell if it's true or not. But he said he knew that guy. He was tattooed all up and down, no hair, shiny bald head, completely clean shaved face, shaved his head and face every day, but had a big old mustache. Looked like Mexican gangster straight out of American Me. I mean, he looked the part. Okay, they got a different style too, by the way. I mean, it must be East Coast, West Coast, but I mean shorts, big shorts that are too big with socks pulled all the way up, even in the summer. And that thing where they button that top button and that's coming off, I seen that a good bit too. I thought that was just like a joke thing in the movies, but apparently not. But anyway, he says, yeah, I think we can work something out. Butterball. So, you're going to make me a list. Tell me everybody in here that you know. He's like, and he tells me he's going to give him a few things for this. He's like, really? You're going to give me on? He says, you can't show anybody until after I leave. And he looks a little nervous when he's, I'm not going to show anybody, but you leave me that list, I'll get you good. And he gave him a good little handful of stuff. He wrote a list. His list was as long as his list of people he had held accountable before. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. Some of the names on the list, I could not believe. And he wrote what he did with who. I thought just, everybody didn't like him and he didn't like everybody. People he got in accountability wars with, that might have been some type of behind-the-scenes stuff they was having issues with. He wrote a list, and it ultimately was about 20 people, which is insane. There's 140 people in the RDAP program. That means 1 in 7 people was behind the scenes with this fella. And it was funny. He was a young guy. He's 5 foot, 240. He's a little Jewish fella. He's good with his numbers, good with his math, apparently. I looked that eBay stuff up about him, and he was scamming people a lot. Like, he had a whole elaborate thing. But he was a young fella. All the people on this list were anywhere from 40 to like 65 years old. I don't know what type of complex, what type of mentality, what type of deviancy, is going on in his head, but that was like the average age of the people in this list. He gave the list to my celly. He went home the next morning. My celly went to the education and got a copy card. They got a copy machine. For $5 at commissary, you can buy a copy card that'll make you 50 copies. He made 50 copies of this list of who done what with him and everything else. He passed this list out. It caused all kinds of a ruckus. Now, Dickie, who I told the story about yesterday, Dickie, the fake Muslim, who was conspiracy theory obsessed, reading all these books. I mean, he was a nut. Dickie was a nut and a half. Okay, he was a couple chicken nuggets short of a Happy Meal. He done smoked himself dumb. Anyway, Dickie and the little Butterball had all kinds of wars, holding each other accountable. Telling on each other timeout chairs. They had wars. Oh, I've got so many stories about the stuff, and every time people held Dickie accountable because he'd get up there and they'd hold him accountable for stuff he didn't even do, because you're supposed to say, my clarity is I did not do that. He'd get up there, that's a lie. I never did that. He's lying on me. He's messing up on me. And people laugh at him. So people got laughs off Dickie because he didn't have the sense to calm down, and because he got such a big reaction out of it, they liked having his reaction out of it. So him and Butterball got in these wars, and it was funny as could be, but he hated Butterball. Because of his life choices, hated him because of his heritage. Dickie was crazy. He believed in the lizard people were taking over and all that stuff and all that type anti-Semitic and all that other crazy stuff. He was out there, just saying that. He smoked himself gone. Okay, you can do something in this program. The program is from 7:40 to 10:30 a.m. You can get up there and you say, I'd like to offer so-and-so positive praise. So if I offer, let's say somebody over there is named Chris. I get up on the podium, I say, I'd like to offer Chris positive praise. Chris stands up. And I say, I'd like to offer you positive praise because I saw you helping the new people with this, this, and that, and that's why. And it kind of just makes you look good in front of the DTSs. Okay, I never did it. I don't think anybody ever gave it to me, but basically, when you offer it to somebody, they're supposed to stand up. Dickie is going home the very next day. And this had just happened. Him and Butterball went home within a few days of each other. He gets up there and he says, I'd like to offer positive praise to all the people that Butterball victimized, that he's told these lies about. Well, you see about 4 or 5 out of the 20 look back and forth, and they started like, should we stand up? And they started slowly standing. He says, oh, no, it's okay. You can sit back down. He did this. His people are all like this. You cannot trust him. Blah, blah, blah. He's like this. He wanted to stir this up. He wanted us to be fighting. And the DTSs, which are the people who aren't inmates, that got their little year community certificate, that know nothing about drug treatment, that run this dumb program, who are sitting at the back, call him back there, and you see him sitting at the table like just going on a rant, like just he's the one like, you know how when people like whisper but they're not really whispering, like people who are kind of slow, they're like, they think they're whispering but really they're talking just as loud. He's back there at the table, but you can hear him across the room telling, he did this, he lied on these people, he wanted this to happen, and going on and on. But and then Dickie ended up going home. But anyway, I don't think he lied on these people. Okay, there was the first thing I heard after that ended. I was over at the microwave. I made all my meals, pretty much most of my meals. If they had something unhealthy in the kitchen, I made my meal. They had decent commissary. I can't say that I ate bad there, but you know, if you got a few bucks, you can eat. I ate a lot of instant rice with a lot of foods from the kitchen. They got an ice machine, so you have a trash can that you never put trash in, that you store the food in. You salt the ice, it makes it into a block. But anyway, I was fixing my food. I was fixing my lunch. And there was this little short fella. He's stocky though, about 5'5", probably about 180, stocky, cut up, probably 40, 50 years old. And he's standing, man, I can't believe, he said, I don't know why but like, you know how people lie and you can like they're embarrassed? Like, you know, like, it seemed like he was guilty. And some of the other people, definitely. And one of the 4 senior peers, the inmates that run the program, everybody, that was one that there were rumors about, and he wrote that they done all kinds of crazy stuff. But it was wild because 1 in 7 people, this little Butterball had gotten, and it was a crazy story. It was crazy. It tore all kinds of chaos up through the unit for a long time after that. Some wild stuff. Anyway, if you liked the video, if you've watched it this far, press the like button. If not, 18 minutes and 18 seconds of your life in which you will never get back. And for that, I do apologize, but I do hope you liked the video. Y'all have a good one.